Welcome, 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 welcome. Hello, everyone. Just a couple more minutes, and then I will start today's live. I hope everyone is having a lovely week so far. I know it's only Tuesday, but I hope it is lovely so far. It is freezing here. I am in Toronto. It is so cold. It just dipped from like 17 degrees to 2 degrees, and winter is here. It's not coming, it is here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on today's live stream. My name is Susan. I am the founder and creative director of Earth Tones Naturals. I am a naturopathic doctor and I am a certified trichologist, and my area of focus is hair and scalp care. I specialize in corrective curl care, which is basically properly assessing and then addressing issues that clients have with their hair and scalp, such as dryness, breakage, flaking, etc. And I also help curlies who are not so confident with respect to their curls develop that confidence, and embrace their natural hair and live life to the fullest. So that is what I do. I am here to support you, and I typically do that through my lives, which are every Tuesday. And there's different topics every single week. And we also do consultations at our in person location in Ajax. And we also do virtual consultations. So if you're having any issues with your hair, you have any questions, you just want to know how to style your hair, what to use on your hair, how to address specific hair concerns, we do virtual consultations as well. And we'll be opening up our hair and scalp spa soon, very soon, next month, where we'll be able to do everything that we need to do with respect to your hair care combination. Ready for the cold weather. So, cold weather curl care. Now, we tend to hear this a lot where people say that their products are just not working for them anymore. Um, they're taking their same regimen and going from a spring summer temperature into the winter. And so what I've realized is that you have to change your regimen in the cold weather. And I'm here to kind of show you how to do that so you can kind of move through the winter into the next spring and summer with amazing hair growth and length retention and moisture retention. What tends to happen a lot, I find, especially with the people that I consult with, is that they'll put their hair in protective styling, typically doing that in the wintertime. And then what happens in the spring and summer is they find that they have a lot of breakage and a lot of damage, and they're not understanding why, because protective styling is supposed to be protective to the hair. Well, it all starts with the care of the hair prior to the protective styling, because when your hair's in a protective style, depending on what the style is, it's very difficult to really moisturize the hair properly. It's really difficult to take care of it. So the key really is, prior to putting your hair into that protective style, to take care of it properly and use the right product. So I'm going to go over that this evening. I'm doing a little bit of a different format. I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation and just go through a few things with respect to what you want to change about your regimen, the types of products you want to use. I will be discussing Earth Tones products, but I will also be discussing concepts. So as long as you're able to get the concepts and really understand why I'm recommending certain ingredients or certain products, you can use any product that's on the market to accomplish what I am recommending, as long as that product is good enough. So I'll give you various ways to use a product, why a specific product might be used, various ways to use it, and then how you kind of fit it into your cold weather regimen. So, in general, with respect to cold weather or just hair care in general, even moisturizing the hair, the key factor that you have to be aware of is humidity. So, heat and porosity also affects the amount of water in the hair, but humidity is the number one factor that affects the amount of water in the hair. Clients will typically say that their hair is very, very dry in the wintertime, very, very, very dry in the winter. And so they don't understand because they're using some of the same products or they're using a deep conditioner and they're not understanding why their hair is not retaining moisture. The principle that you really want to understand is that with respect to water in the hair, water will always try to reach a level of equal concentration on the hair side and on the environment side. So I'll give you an example. In the summertime, where we know we have a lot of humidity in the atmosphere, typically your hair should not be dry. I know there are some people whose hair is dry, but your hair should really not be dry because of the level of water vapor in the air. So, what you'll typically find you'll get is hair that tends to be moist. It might tend to frizz quite a bit. So, frizz control might be an issue in the summertime, but dryness typically should not be because the level of humidity is high. And so what happens with respect to water is it because your hair is porous due to the cuticle, water is going to move into the hair and it's going to move out of the hair by a process called diffusion. So diffusion is basically where the water molecules will move down a concentration gradient. So think an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration until it reaches a state of balance. So that's typically what is happening throughout every single season in every environment. So if you're in the summertime and you go out in the outside and it's really, really humid outside, your hair is going to feel one way. Now, if you step inside and the air conditioning is blasting and the humidity inside is different, and the temperature is different. So let's say you have cold air, your hair is going to feel another way. Typically, what it will feel is it'll feel a little bit harder, maybe not so moisturized, but when you go outside from that air conditioned space to outside, your hair is going to feel different. And you're probably wondering, like, what is happening? What's happening is the water balance is different from one environment to the next. It could be one room to the next. It could be from outside to inside. Just know that your hair is just going to feel different from one environment to the next. And it's due to the amount of water in the atmosphere. And it can also be due to temperature. So typically what we have in uh, the cold air is we typically have dry air. So not only do we have a low amount of humidity, but we also have cold air happening as well. So we have to be able to keep moisture in the hair based on the temperature gradient and on the humidity level as well. So in the wintertime, what you're typically going to find is you're going to have hair that is going to be drier. It's going to feel a little bit crispier. Your hair might feel harder. And your hair will typically lose water and moisture to the atmosphere. So that's typically what's going to happen. And the result is dry, brittle hair that's prone to hair care in the wintertime. We need to make a few changes. Okay. So those changes are going to be changes in your shampoo, in your conditioner, in your leave-in conditioner. If you use a leave-in conditioner, it's going to be changes to the oils that you use. There are going to be changes to your styling products, and there are going to be changes to any do-it-yourself concoctions that you'll typically use. So these are all the types of products that I find a lot of naturals like to use as part of their regimen. Now, I don't believe in a really complicated regimen. I really believe in keeping things very, very, very simple when it comes to the regimen. So if you were on I think it was the live when I spoke about the types of products to use in your hair in general, you typically want to keep it simple. So you're cleansing your hair, you're conditioning, you're moisturizing, and you are styling. Those are the four basic steps to any regimen. You're going to add in there other things based on the condition of your hair, but I like to start there as a kind of like your framework. So the two main reasons that your products might seem like they don't work anymore is that there's the inability for the product to help your hair retain moisture, and or you're using the incorrect products for your regimen, and you're not using the products properly. So I had a client today who was complaining of dry hair. And when I felt her hair, it didn't feel too dry to me. It just felt a little bit weighed down and sticky and a little bit tacky for her curl type and her hair texture. And one of the reasons is that she was moisturizing every day. And so I said to her, when you're using moisturizing ingredients or leave-in conditioners, for example, that have positively charged, what are called positively charged surfactants or cationic surfactants in the product, those ingredients like to stick right on top of the hair. So the more you use them every day, the more they tend to build up on the hair and make the hair feel very heavy. So I recommended that she just change a few things about the way she's using the products, perhaps just focus on using them primarily on wash day, making sure she's using enough to help her hair retain moisture so that she doesn't have to use them during the week and so that they don't build up and cause the hair to weigh down. Sorry if you are on Instagram. For some reason, I keep losing the connection, so I apologize. So every time I'm getting kicked out and I am having to restart the stream again. So I do apologize for that. If you are watching on Instagram, there's something technical that's happening here that I'm not quite sure. So if I keep getting kicked out, then I will keep restarting, and you might have to kind of pick up where we left off. And I've got camera issues again. I apologize for this. Every time I'm doing this stream, I'm having issues with my camera where I'm freezing, and I just don't like that. So I apologize. Technical issues always will happen. So these are the glitches. So with respect to moisturizing the hair, there's a couple principles that I want you to remember, regardless of what product that you're using. So these are the principles of hydration in general. Okay. You are trying to get the hair to hold on to existing water. So that should be a clue in terms of the types of products that you need or types of ingredients that you need for moisture. So you want the hair to hold on to existing water, but you also want to seal moisture in. So what that is preventing the evaporation of moisture from the hair to the environment. And it's interesting because all of the parameters that I typically use for assessing the hair, which is the density of the hair, the strand thickness, the porosity, the length of the hair, the weathering of the hair. These all come into play when we're talking about the hair being able to hold on to moisture. So for example, if you have high porosity hair, what is going on with your hair? Typically, your hair will accept moisture quickly, but it will also tend to lose moisture quickly. So, if you're trying to get your hair to hold on to moisture, but you know your hair loses moisture quickly, would you be spraying your hair with water every day without sealing the moisture in? You probably wouldn't. And so what happens with clients who do this, who mist their hair with water every single day, especially if they have high porosity hair, is their hair dries out. But it's no surprise that their hair is drying out because they have high porosity hair. So their hair loses water quickly. So it might feel really nice and moisturized when you spray it with water. And then 10 minutes later, you lose it because you have high porosity hair. So for clients who have high porosity hair, I don't recommend misting the hair with water every day. I really, really, really don't, especially if they're using a styling product on their hair, because styling products tend to seal in whatever's underneath. So they tend to seal in moisture. So I don't recommend that. But with respect to hydrating the hair, these are the two things that you want to make note of. Have the hair hold on to existing water and slow the loss of water from the hair to the environment. It becomes much more difficult to do this in the wintertime because of that low humidity and because of the cold. I mean, if we think about it, cold, like if it's 2 degrees outside, at 2 degrees, water is frozen. Well, 0 degrees, water is frozen. At 2 degrees, it might be almost close to freezing. So we can expect that at 2 degrees outside and our hair is exposed, that our hair is going to feel moisturized. It absolutely isn't, due to the humidity and also due to the cold temperature. So we have to keep those things in mind when we are kind of trying to address our regimen in the wintertime. So I just want to make a few distinctions between moisturizing the hair, hydrating the hair, and conditioning. I think some of us think that they're all the same, but they're not. There are distinctions between or among the three terms. And again, this is another principle that I really want you to understand because it will kind of make troubleshooting your moisturizing and your leave-in conditioner not working and what do I do? It'll make it a little bit more understandable. So when you're trying to moisturize the hair, you are trying to reduce water loss from the hair. When you are moisturizing, you need emollients, you need sealing products. So you need either sealing oils or you need products that are going to seal in moisture. So, for example, polymers. So, styling products will seal in what's underneath it. For hydration, you want to make sure that there's adequate moisture levels in the hair and you don't want to go overboard. So saturating your hair with water is not ideal under any circumstances to keep moisture in the hair. When you saturate your hair with water, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up damaging your hair. You're going to end up fatiguing the hair fiber, and what that results in is poor elasticity and breakage. The research suggests that hair that is very, very, very porous and very damaged is hair that uptakes water. And one of the reasons it uptakes water is because the cuticle scales are so lifted. But damaged hair is also missing that water repelling layer to the hair. That water repelling layer to the hair is very, very, very important because what it does is it helps to seal in moisture. So you want the hair to repel moisture just a little bit. You don't want the hair to uptake too much moisture because too much moisture can actually damage the hair. So, with respect to hydration, if we want our hair to intake water, the appropriate amounts of water, we need ingredients called humectants. And these are like the no-no ingredients in the natural community: glycerin, agave nectar, honey, sorbitol. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard my hair doesn't respond well to glycerin or my hair hates glycerin. I just don't understand that because glycerin is like the number one ingredient that you need to use to soften and draw moisture into the hair. It is an amazingly inexpensive ingredient, and just a little bit of glycerin to water can actually soften the hair and improve the water binding capacity of the hair, which is what you need. So this whole concept of glycerin being bad for the hair, et cetera, is just, I'm not sure where that came from. I'm wondering if people were using glycerin at 100% concentration, in which case, if you put a glycerin like straight from the bottle onto your hair, yeah, it's going to suck moisture out of the hair because glycerin actually does it. It binds water to its sites. So if you put glycerin 100% on your hair, it'll probably dry out your hair. But nobody does that. And it's not used that way in cosmetic applications. So I don't know why someone would do that. Anytime you use glycerin, you're going to dilute it with water. And when you do use it, you'll find you have a softness to the hair. And so that is an ingredient that I really highly suggest if you are struggling with any type of moisture, that you use a glycerin water mixture on your hair. It doesn't have to be daily. It could just be anytime you're adding moisture to your hair. So glycerin is needed for hydration. And then conditioning is something completely different. Conditioning is about reducing friction between hair strands. It's about sealing the cuticle. It's about restoring that water repelling layer to the hair. But conditioners aren't meant to moisturize or hydrate. So, in essence, in an ideal world, your moisturizing product for the wintertime should contain all three types of ingredients. It should contain ingredients that are going to help seal in moisture. So, it's going to lock in the moisture. It should contain ingredients that are going to pull moisture into the hair. And it should contain conditioning ingredients, which are going to help soften the hair, seal the cuticle, and just kind of restore the water repelling properties to the hair. So you kind of really honestly need all three. So, in terms of products for hydration in any environment, whether we're talking winter, spring, summer, fall, there are a combination of ingredients and a combination of products that should be used. So, a deep conditioner definitely needs to be used in the wintertime. This is the time where I always recommend for all of my clients, you should be deep conditioning. In the summertime and springtime, I don't necessarily deep condition unless I'm correcting an issue with the hair. So, if I am correcting breakage, and there's a deep conditioner that has ingredients that are going to help manage breakage and help to fortify the hair structure, then I recommend a client continue on that type of deep conditioner until further notice. But if it's for moisture and hydration, I'm using a deep conditioner in the winter time and maybe the tail end of fall into the winter. That's pretty much all I'm doing. You'll need a moisturizer. I think you'll need a moisturizer over a leave-in conditioner. I am really making a distinction between a moisturizer and a leave-in here. You're going to have to look at the brand that you're using to see if that leave-in conditioner, if the title leave-in conditioner has oils and humectants in it, because then it's really acting like a moisturizer with just the name leave-in conditioner. But I'm making a distinction between a conditioner and moisturizer. So a moisturizer, how I'm defining it, is a product that will help draw moisture into the hair, seal it in, and will also condition the hair. Maybe. I mean, if it conditions the hair and softens the hair, then that's a bonus. I don't think it's necessary. I think if you had kind of like an all in one product, it would do all three: moisturize, hydrate, and condition. Sometimes people do have to layer on products. So if you find a really good moisturizer, meaning you find a product that's really good at pulling moisture into the hair and locking it in, but you also have to use a leave in product underneath to help with softening the hair, restoring the cuticle, restoring that water repelling layer to the hair, then you might need to layer on those products. But ideally, it should be one product that does all of it. And then you might need an oil. I'm saying might because if you're using a really good moisturizer, you don't necessarily need a sealing oil on top. But in general, for your cold weather curl care, you'd want a deep conditioner, you'd want a moisturizer, and maybe you'd want an oil if your moisturizer is just not sealing enough to lock in moisture. So, your typical ingredients for hydration are definitely going to be water. So, you need water. I recommend aloe vera juice. I mean, I love aloe vera juice. I use aloe vera juice in every single one of our products because it does have humectant properties to it. So, it draws moisture into the hair, and your humectants and your hydrolyzed proteins. You don't have to have a product with hydrolyzed proteins. It just so happens that we use hydrolyzed proteins in some of our products for hydration, but they're not necessary. But these ingredients will help the hair hold on to existing moisture. And then your oils, and it's certain oils, it's not all oils, will reduce the water loss from the hair. So ideally, you need all three, or sorry, all five types of ingredients in one product. Or if not, then you just will layer on products. So, in terms of your leave in, rinse out, and moisturizer, um, if there's one product that's essential for reducing dryness, it definitely is a moisturizer. And so, I did mention the differences between leave ins, rinse outs, and moisturizers. So, rinse out conditioners are typically made to deposit onto the hair. So, you apply the conditioner to your hair, and then you leave it in for a specified amount of time, and then you rinse it out. So that conditioner is not necessarily meant to provide all the hydration for your hair. It might, depending on your hair type and texture. So if you have really fine, baby fine hair or hair that tends to get very weighed down with product, then your rinse out conditioner really might be enough to deposit product on your hair. And when I say deposit, I mean when that conditioner is rinsed, there is still some ingredients that are left onto the hair. There's still some conditioner that's left onto the hair that does the job of softening, detangling, and smoothing the hair. So the more conditioning a product is, so the higher level of conditioning, the more that product is going to deposit ingredients onto the hair. So as you go from lighter conditioners to thicker, richer, buttery consistency, highly viscous conditioners, you might have more deposition of ingredients on the hair. So if you are a type 4, even a type 3, so really curly, tightly curled, coiled hair, that might have an issue with retaining moisture and maybe needs thicker, richer products, then you'd want a thicker, richer conditioner that you're rinsing out. And then when you add heat, what tends to happen is some of the ingredients that are able to penetrate into the hair shaft will penetrate. So heat can be in the form of a heating cap, it can be in the form of steaming. You're opening up the cuticles, you're expanding the hair fiber, and you're allowing ingredients that can penetrate into the hair shaft to penetrate. And then once you rinse out, you have the deposition of ingredients onto the hair. So that's what a rinse out does. So if you have, and we get this question a lot or this inquiry a lot, where they'll use a product, clients will use a product, they might use one of our conditioners, and they rinse it from their hair and their hair is still dry. Well, the reason is that your rinse out conditioner is kind of like your first step to your hydration process. But if you have really, really, really thick, coily hair, it is not going to be enough. It's a step. It's probably one of the most important steps, but it's not enough. So I just want you to keep in mind that depending on your hair type and texture, a rinse out conditioner might not be enough to hydrate and moisturize your hair and lock that moisture in. You might need to go now to a leave in. So leave ins and moisturizers are designed to add a little temporary softness to the hair to make the hair a little bit easier to manipulate, but some don't deposit a lot in order to avoid buildup, but some do. So, for example, we have one light leave in product, and we have a coconut moisture milk, and then we have the hair butter. So, as you move from the light leave in to the hair butter, you are moving from light conditioning and light moisture to heavier moisture. So, if you are very fine haired your hair gets weighed down with product and you just want a light amount of moisture, what you would do is do a rinse out conditioner and then probably the light leave in as your leave in product. But if you have thicker hair, like my hair butter all the way 100%, deep treatment all the way 100%, followed by hair butter, that's what my hair needs in order to draw moisture in and lock it in. So the type of product that you're going to use in the wintertime really starts with what is your hair type and texture, your strand thickness, your density, and then what does your hair need? So if you are fine haired, light haired, can't deal with products weighing your hair down, you will definitely need a rinse out conditioner to start that conditioning and deposition and moisture process, followed by maybe a lighter leave-in product. If you are thicker haired, coilier hair, you need more moisture because naturally your strands tend to be drier. Then you're going to need more thicker, richer conditioning products with higher amounts of oils, higher amounts of butters, high amounts of humectants, high amounts of everything to deposit on the hair. And then what you'll do is follow it by your leave-in product, which is a thicker, richer product. So it just you really have to kind of assess your hair first, assess the needs of your hair, and then with respect to the concepts of hydration and moisture in the wintertime, use those concepts to guide the types of products that you're going to be using. So, just to review, the conditioners typically contain ingredients that will attach onto the surface of the hair. This is why using a leave in conditioner, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, for me, in my approach and my philosophy to curl care, you've got good, better, and best. Using a conditioner every day is good, but it's not the best approach, in my opinion. Now, this is just my opinion and just my experience. Because typically, what happens if you use a conditioner every day, you get a lot of buildup of conditioning agents on the hair. And the reason is that if you use a leave-in conditioner that has a lot of oils and butters, you're just applying more and more oil and butter on top of your hair. So that's one thing. But the conditioning agents themselves, they they stick onto the hair. Like that's just how they work. They don't get absorbed into the hair. They stick right on top. So the more you use, the more they stick. And then what tends to happen is you might get balling, you might get buildup, and you can actually see this. Your hair might feel um, gummy, tacky, depending on the formula of the product that you're using. So my philosophy is you put all of your hydration, moisturization, conditioning work in on the day you wash your hair, and you use sufficient product that will help it last, the hydration last throughout the week if possible. But even then, the the length of time that your hair stays moisturized in the winter is highly dependent on your hairstyle, as well as the types of products that you use. So you just have to, there's a few factors that you just need to consider with respect to using a product every day. But if you have to use a product every day, I would say, again, my opinion, my experience, that product is just not a good enough moisturizer for your hair. You're either using it incorrectly or it's just not good at hydrating your hair. Using it incorrectly, meaning it's too dilute when you're using it. So you're putting it on wet hair as opposed to damp hair, and or you're not using enough product for your hair. So I'm not a fan of using products every day. Also, using products every day, I mean, I from a practical perspective, I don't like to do my hair every day. I don't know who does. I don't like styling my hair every day. I don't like having to hydrate it every day. So if I can hydrate, moisturize, do a style that lasts me at least a week, I'm good. I just don't have time to do it every day. So I just think that applying product to your hair and styling it every day is such a time suck. I mean, you just don't get that time back. So for my clients, if I'm creating a regimen for them, I am taking a lot of things into consideration. Number one being the time that they're spending doing their hair. I just don't believe that your time should be spent every day doing it. I believe that your time should be spent one day a week doing it, and that's wash day. You dedicate your time on wash day. And then during the week, it's just maintaining that style as best as possible with minimal effort. That's just my philosophy. That's how I work, and those are the types of regimens that I give to my clients, and they work. So conditioners help repair the hair, they smooth the cuticle, they reduce tangling, they ease wet combing, and they provide the hair with softening. Right. So the typical types of conditioning ingredients that you're going to find water, you're going to find surfactants, and surfactants are your cleansing agents, or yeah, they're cleansing agents, but you can have positively, negatively charged, and neutrally charged cleansing agents. Typically, the ones that are found in conditioners are positively charged because the hair has a net negative charge. the conditioners positively charge, opposites attract, that it sits on top of the hair and confers the benefits of improving wet combing. So if your hair's tangled a lot, conditioners will help detangle the hair, sealing the cuticle, reducing friction, etc. You'll typically find hair softener, so those could be various ingredients and chemicals, humectants, oils, butters, silicones for those products that include silicones, but you'll typically find silicones in conditioners if they're going to be found anywhere. Mineral oils sometimes, and hydrolyzed proteins you'll find. And with respect to an effective moisturizer, if you're looking at the product that you currently have and kind of assessing to see if it's good or not, you definitely want water or some type of water infusion of. So sometimes brands will do herbal infusions of a product of a botanical or something. That herbal infusion is water with the herb, so at least you know there's water in there. It'll have humectants in it. It should. It really, really, really should. Humectants, excuse me, glycerin, not a bad word, not a four-letter word. It's amazing for the hair. So your products should have humectants in them, in my opinion. In my experience, humectants are your best friend if you know how to use them properly. There's glycerin in every single one of our products that doesn't have, that's not 100% oil, because glycerin is water soluble. It's not soluble in oil. And our clients don't have issues with any dryness or anything. So it's not the glycerin that's the problem. It's the formula. It's the product as a whole. If the product is a drying formula, you can't really pick out the glycerin and say it's a glycerin. It's the formula. The formula is not great. Penetrating oils and sealing oils. So humectants are used in hair and skin care products to promote moisture retention. And it's important to note that for the sake of hair care and the use of humectants, there are kind of two main weather conditions: low and high humidity. I use humectants in low and high humidity with no issues. It's just that the way I use them in each environment is a little bit different. So if you are in a low humidity condition, such as the cold, dry winter air, the recommendations have been to not use a lot of humectants. But I'm going to tell you, our products have humectants in the top five of the ingredient list with no issues. So these are recommendations from, I think it was naturallycurly.com. Uh, I think it was Tanya McKay. She was a chemist who put these recommendations together. And a lot of people have asked me about them. So I've put them here for completeness. However, I will say I use humectants in every single climate, no worries, no problem. And I love them. So, if humectants don't work for you, um, let's say you're using a product with glycerin that's like the top two, the second or third ingredient, and you find that your hair, not necessarily dry, because glycerin is not going to dry out the hair per se. It'll make it feel a little bit sticky, especially if it's like second ingredient on the list or even the third. It just depends on the concentration of the first two or the first ingredient. Your hair will tend to feel sticky in the summertime, sticky, and it will frizz. So I wouldn't use a lot of high humectants in the summer, but in the winter, especially if you pair them with oils and butters, there is no problem. No problem. So in general, what do you want to do for a cold weather curl care regimen? So there's a couple things. The question you need to ask yourself is, how are you going to wear your hair? And how are you going to wear your hair? Those like that's the main question you need to ask yourself, because the types of products that you're going to use will depend on how you're going to wear your hair. And so I have four types, I think a base of three or four steps. Like that's my base regimen. No matter who it is, no matter how someone's wearing their hair, I think it's three steps, three basic steps. And then depending on your hairstyle, you would add an additional step to it. So, components of a winter hair regimen could include pre cleansing the hair, cleansing, deep conditioning, moisturizing, treating the hair, styling the hair, and then you have your nighttime care and your weekly maintenance, right? So, um, I'm going to go to step two. I'm not going to talk about coconut oil pre shampoo treatment too much. I mean, some people will do it. I've done it in the past. It is time consuming to do. I don't really include that too much in regimens anymore. Not that it's not necessary, but if people have poor elasticity or if they have really kinky, coily hair, then you can include a coconut oil pre-shampoo treatment in the regimen, because what coconut oil will do, because of the fatty acid composition of the coconut oil, um, it gets absorbed into the hair. It improves elasticity, but also prevents cuticle chipping. And cuticle chipping tends to happen a lot in really kinky, coily hair. And so once the cuticle's chipped away, it exposes the really vulnerable part of the hair, which is the cortex. And then you get stuff like split ends, tangling, damaged, frayed ends, etc. So coconut oil as a pre-shampoo treatment is a great way to minimize that. I don't really use coconut oil anymore as a pre-shampoo treatment. My pre-shampoo step is my detangling step with our detangling co-cleanse. So that's what I do pre-shampoo. It does have ingredients in there to help protect the hair and reduce friction and damage. But I do that as my pre-shampoo treatment, because the way I wash my hair is it's detangled first, and then everything else is just such a breeze when I do it that way. So in general, you'd want to, if I'm going to go back here and talk about the regimen, your three basic steps are going to be to cleanse, to deep condition, and then to moisturize. So let's say, for the sake of argument, um, you are going to be wearing your hair in braids. So what you would do is you would do your first three steps of cleansing, conditioning, and moisturizing, and you would stop there. If you're not going to wear your hair in braids and you're wearing your hair in a wash and go style, or you're going to twist your own hair, for example, and you want the twist or the braids to stick, you would then go to step four, which is the styling phase. So you would do step one, shampoo, step two, condition, step three, moisturize. So those are the foundational steps to your regimen. And then, depending on how you're going to wear your hair, whether it's a protective style or you're going to do a low manipulation style, protective styling is more so about protecting your the ends of your hair, but you don't have to manipulate your hair every day. So I consider twists. So if I were to take my hair out and twist my own hair, I consider that to be a low manipulation hairstyle. It's not necessarily protective, because I'm not protecting the ends of my hair. My ends are still loose. They're still going to rub on my coat, on my jacket, or whatever, but it is low manipulation. A protective style would be what I have in my hair right now, which is braids, or I don't even know if cornrows. Maybe cornrows with extensions, because when you have the extensions, you can actually tuck the ends under the extension hair. But if I had cornrows in my hair and I didn't have extensions, then I would probably consider that to be a low manipulation hairstyle. I guess it would kind of straddle the fence between low manipulation and protective. But the only thing is, my ends would not be protected. It just depends on the style. So if my ends are like, if I had a cornrowed ponytail and the ends are loose and not tucked into a bun, then the loose end hairstyle would be low manipulation, but the tucked into a bun would be protective. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Protective styling, protecting the hair and the ends. Low manipulation is not manipulating the hair a lot, but the ends are not necessarily protected. No one is better than another. It's just a preference, but both are really good at reducing the manipulation on the hair, which is excellent. So I don't want you to kind of get bogged down with which one should I do. It's whatever you are able to do, or whatever someone is able to do for you, is better than manipulating your hair every day in general. And I especially like to keep my hair tucked in the wintertime. I really don't like leaving my hair out in the winter, because it just tends to get dry. I will also say that for most of the winter, my hair is in a style for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then I do another style. So that is my winter curl care regimen. I just shampoo, condition, moisturize. That's my foundation. And then from there, I build on it depending on how I want to wear my hair. All right. So, in terms of like deep conditioning the hair, it's important that if you're deep conditioning, that you do use heat. Now, heat can come from an external heating cap, or it could even be you place a plastic cap on your head, you tie a satin bonnet around your head, and you just allow your body heat to be the heat source. Excuse me. In general, you'd want to deep condition for about 30 minutes. I think if you're using your heater, you could do it for a little bit longer, only because if you have an external heat source like a heat cap, then it can get hotter. And so the hotter it gets, the more penetration of those active ingredients or those ingredients that can penetrate into the hair, and the less time you need to use the for. But if it's long, if you're doing body heat, you might need to do it longer. In which case, if I am deep conditioning my hair and I don't have time to really deep condition during the day and rinse default style, every time I'm washing my hair, I'll twist it in large twists, pull it back into and just, you do my deep conditioning. Okay, so that's what I do for my deep conditioning treatment. So again, 30 minutes. Um, Depending on your deep conditioner, doing over 30 minutes might not confer an additional benefit, but there's nothing wrong with leaving it on longer, because I know that some people leave it on longer just because of timing. And deep conditioning should be done after you shampoo your hair, not before. And just because the hair should be clean, um, and you don't want a deep condition be on dirty hair. You want to deep condition on clean hair. Okay. So once you deep condition, the next thing you want to go to is moisturizing. So this is where you would do your leave-in product. And so you'd really want to make sure, and I'm frozen again, you'd really want to make sure that your that your moisturizer is a moisturizing product. So here's what I like to do. And so I had a client come in today, who again was trying to figure out if your leave-in product was working or not. So as much as I'd love the sale, really would love to sell her a product, I told her to do this just to test out her conditioner, her leave-in, sorry, I keep calling it conditioner, her leave-in product, to see if it was maybe her usage that was causing the leave-in not to work properly. So she was applying it to soaking wet hair. So I said, okay, go apply your leave-in product to damp hair and then assess. See if it works. See if it hydrates your hair properly. Because it could be that just that simple change in how you use your product is the difference. It's the difference between dry hair and moisturized hair. In general, I'm a damp hair application person. I love a damp hair application. My hair needs it. It needs to have a concentrated application of oils, butters, humectants, whatever it is. Damp is my best friend. For your hair, though, maybe damp is not so good. Maybe when you apply your leave-in to damp hair, your hair feels too weighed down. I find that tends to happen in hair that is really fine. So if you have really fine, thin hair, then water is your friend with respect to product application, because it dilutes the product. And you don't want a lot of product on your hair because the hair becomes very limp and weighed down. So most people will fall between, soaking wet application and a dry hair application. I'm not dry hair, so I don't apply product to dry hair. I apply product to damp hair, very lightly misted. And as a tip, so you know how if you're applying a product to your hair, like for example, after I apply I rinse out my conditioner from my hair, and then I'm going to apply my leave-in moisturizer, which is usually our hair butter. That's the one I apply as my leave-in. I will mist my hair with water just to make it damp. So what I have been doing is applying the refreshing mist. So the refreshing mist is kind of like your souped up water. So it has humectants in it that are going to pull moisture into the hair. And it's made such a huge difference with the moisture retention ability of my hair in the colder weather. So spraying your hair with a water humectant mix instead of just water, and then applying your leave-in cream on top, can also make a difference. This is just something that's subtle, but I like to do subtle things to see what the result is going to be, so that I can tell you or advise you or make recommendations to you on how you can how you can make your regimen a little bit better and use your products a little bit better. So really doing that humectant water mix, you can use the refreshing mist, you can use anything that you want. Um, Glycerin and water mixture, for example, you can do that, put it in a bottle, a spray bottle, apply it to your hair, and then apply your leave-in and see if that makes a difference. It's something as subtle as that makes a huge difference. right? So after that, you then go to your moisturize step. And so moisturizing the hair, this is where I find now that there tends to be an issue. It's moisturizing the hair. The issue that I find is either not the right moisturizer or not enough that is applied to the hair. And so when you are moisturizing your hair, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are applying it sufficiently to the hair in small sections, and you are applying enough moisturizer for that texture. And what I mean by that is that typically on our head, we'll have varying textures. We have varying curl patterns, we have varying textures. Some parts of our hair are easy to moisturize, whereas others are a little bit more challenging. So I get asked this question a lot too. I mean, I have different textures on my head. Some of them are coarser. I don't know what to do. They tend to be drier. So you know what you do? You apply more product to that area of the hair. That's all it is. It's just you can feel when your hair is moisturized. Or if you're not able to feel when your hair is moisturized, you need to learn to feel when your hair is moisturized. So what you want to do when you apply your moisturizing product is feel that section. Is it moisturized enough? Are the ends moisturized? Is close to the scalp moisturized? And once you're able to feel the subtleties of the hair, you can then apply enough moisturizer to those coarser parts of your hair or the hair where there's a different texture where it never seems to get moisturized. That's what I do. I apply more product to that section. That section. That's it. I don't do anything else because that section of my hair needs more product. Or maybe I apply less water and more product to that hair. And then other sections I can get away with applying more water, less product. So really you have to really get a sense and feel for your hair, every single aspect of it, the various textures, the various porosities, everything. You need to get a sense. And when you're applying product, the product application and the amount of product coincides with what that hair needs, that section of hair needs. So the next step is going to be styling. So after you apply your moisturizer, so we've done our shampoo, we've done our conditioning process, we've done our moisture application, and what I recommend is after you apply your moisturizer, depending on how long your hair is, if your hair is long enough to twist, you twist it. So I like twists, and here's why I like twists. Twists are like my foundation style, and it's a big twist. It's not small twists. It's like so. What I do is I divide my hair in four quadrants: one, two, three, four, and then as I'm working smaller sections in each quadrant. So I'll clip, 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 and then I work in the back and work my way forward. You might have a different methodology where you start forward and work back, but I work forward. And I do not part my hair with a comb. I part my hair with my finger and I'm parting and then I'm applying my product. So I'm applying whether it is my conditioner, whether it is my leave-in moisturizing product, I work it in like this and then I twist my hair. And I twist it for a couple of reasons. I twist it because my hair tangles very easily. So anytime I leave my hair out, it's going to tangle. And I don't want to do that detangling process again. So that's why I twist it. I twist it also when my hair's in the moisturized because that's my foundation style. So if I want to put gel in my hair for a wash and go, I just undo twists and put gel in my hair. If I want to now do, like, let's say I want to do mini twists, I undo the twist and I do small sections. I apply my styling product and I retwist my hair. Let's say I want to do braids. It's already stretched, it's already in a twisted state. Or if it requires more stretching in the form of blow drying, it's already in the twisted state. I don't have to detangle it. I'm just blow drying it to be braided. So I like to put my hair in its foundation style so I can think about how I'm going to wear it and I can go long periods of time. Like let's say I don't have time. I wash my hair, on a Saturday and I don't have time to do it until the following Wednesday. My hair's in twist the entire time. Twisting in the colder weather, and this speaks to styling, also causes your hair to have less surface area. The less surface area of your hair, the less surface area for evaporation of moisture. So when your hair is in a twisted style or if it's braided, it tends to retain moisture a lot better than if it's free and out in the open. So if you wear your hair out in any of these beautiful styles here, Um, like a twist out. This looks like a Bantu knot out. This looks like it's a wash and go. This was me years ago. And this was a twist out. It's a twist out with gel. You wear your hair in any of these styles because you have this larger surface area for evaporation. Your hair could feel a little bit drier than if you were to just leave the hair in the twists. So that's another consideration too. If your hair tends to feel very dry in the wintertime, it could be the style that you are wearing your hair in. So just remember, out and big, more surface area for evaporation, drier hair potentially. More contained and tighter styles, less surface area for evaporation, the hair retains moisture better in general. So, this is why for me, my hair is covered or twisted the entire winter. So, what that does for me is it allows my hair to retain moisture better. So I don't do much to my hair in the winter. So I don't do wash and goes in the winter. That's just my preference. I'm not saying you can't, but if you are going to do a wash and go in the winter, just consider that your hair might feel drier sooner than if you didn't do a wash and go. So these are just things to consider. I'm not saying you can't do it. There's no, absolute yes, but it's just if you do wear your hair out, what is the consequence of that? The consequence of it is, okay, you know what? I might have to re-moisturize my hair during the week, or I might have to moisturize more. And do I have time for that this week? I don't know. Okay, so maybe I'll wear my hair in a different style. It's just a few things to consider. Or maybe you don't want to moisturize your hair during the week because you don't have time. So then you have to put up with a drier feeling hair. So these are just kind of like the trade-offs of wearing your hair in particular styles and in particular ways in the wintertime. So when you have your hair set, so again, for me, I twist it. And if it's in twists, it's with the hair butter in it. That's my foundational style. And from there, I can do whatever I want with it whenever, or I can just leave it in twist and then following week or 2 weeks and I wash it over again and I do the same thing over again. But at nighttime, it's definitely a must to put a satin bonnet on or sleep on a satin pillowcase. I have found that for moisture retention, tying the bonnet over your head tends to help your hair retain moisture better than sleeping with your hair open on a satin pillowcase. I am not saying that one is better than the other with respect to reducing friction on the hair strands, but I found that one is better than the other for keeping moisture locked into the hair. So if you are a person who needs to moisturize their hair, and once you moisturize your hair, lock in that moisture with a satin bonnet or a satin head tie over your head. I find the hair just retains moisture a lot better. It locks it in because your head's being covered, and satin doesn't is not really a breathable fabric. So this is one of the reasons I like satin, excuse me, in the wintertime specifically, because it's just not a breathable fabric and it tends to it tends to lock the moisture in. Excuse me for a second. So I just keep getting kicked out of Instagram. So I'm going to try this just a different way now. So all of my people who are on Instagram, I do apologize for these technical issues. Okay, so I'm just restarting this. So that is the nighttime routine and what I like to do at nighttime. So I have a friend, Natasha Patton. She is a designer, very knowledgeable about all her textiles. Hi, everyone on Instagram. I'm doing this differently. So hopefully there's no kicking out for the rest of the live. Thank you for your patience. Um, I'm doing this a little bit differently this time. I apologize for those technical issues. So she put up this, she created we have a blog post where she goes through the different materials and how these materials affect natural hair. And so she goes through nylon, cotton, satin, and silk. And we'll go through, what it is, the pros, the cons, and the cost. So from this particular blog post, satin and silk are two of the best fabrics for natural hair. Silk because it's breathable. It tends to be the best one. It's breathable. It just thinking about this today, I'm thinking satin is, I like satin for the winter because when I'm wearing a winter hat, like let's say I'm wearing a satin lined winter hat, I like the heat to be locked in. And one thing that satin does is it really, really, really locks in that heat. So I would love a satin lined hat. Silk is more breathable. So because of that, I would probably wear silk more so in the summertime because I don't want to lock in heat. But in general, between these four fabrics, nylon, cotton, satin, and silk, you'd want to go for satin and or silk. Just keep in mind, silk is more expensive than satin for sure. Um, and it just depends on its source country and the weave. So there's a lot of variables there, but the two better options are your satin and your silk. All right. And one of my favorite, favorite, favorite tools is a steamer. This steamer can come in any form. It can be a hooded steamer, or it could be the handheld steamer, which is the Q-Redo. I own one of these. I love it. I use it more so to refresh my hair when it's in a wash and go. But lately, I've been using it to detangle the hair. So, to detangle the hair, I can use the Detangling Co-Cleanse, or I can use the Q-Redo, or I can use them both together. It just depends on how tangled my hair is and how much time I want to spend detangling my hair. So, two pros of the Q-Redo: it's amazing for steaming and putting moisture back into the hair. It's also amazing for detangling the hair. So, if you want to put moisture back in the hair because your hair tends to be very dry, you can use a Q-Redo. The Q-Redo is steam, so it's going to expand the hair fiber. It's going to open up the cuticles and put moisture into the hair. And then after you steam your hair, you can then put in your moisturizer. This is a really great tip if you have low porosity hair that doesn't seem to retain the moisture properly. Steaming can really help expand, like it causes the hair shaft to swell, open up the cuticles, lift slightly, and you can put those moisturizing ingredients into the hair. So I love it, love it, love it. It is such an amazing, amazing tool to have in your arsenal. And if you really want to, you can also put moisture back into the air by using a humidifier. So, humidifiers, unless you have one that's systemic, like it goes throughout the entire house, it'll probably be room specific. So, if you want to have high amounts of water vapor in the air, you can use a humidifier in the room that you're in while you're sleeping, potentially, or maybe during the daytime so your hair doesn't feel as dry. This is another option for you to help the hair retain moisture. And my last tip for cold weather curl care is definitely keep it covered. Keep your head covered when you are going outside. This is so crucial because, like I said, when your hair is like when it's 2 degrees outside, nothing is going to be moisturized in 2 degrees. Nothing. And so I love, 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 love wearing a hat. I have a satin lined hat. If you can get your hands on a satin lined hat, great. If not, some people will put a head tie on their head and then put a hat on top, or just go in a regular hat and I just will pull my hood over my head. Anything to keep my hair covered. So this is really important. I mean, if you're running to the car from the house to the car, it's not so crucial. But if you're going to be spending long periods of time outside, really cover your hair and don't wear your hat like, with your hair exposed. There's no point. Like, why is the rest of the hair exposed? It looks cute, but if you're wearing a hat, you need to tuck that hair under because this will be this will be covered. But what about the ends? And then your hair's brittle. This just makes no sense. So cover your entire head. If you have a hat that's big enough to fit over your hair, cover your hair to protect it. Don't let your ends be exposed. It makes no sense whatsoever to wear a hat where the top is your head is covered and your hair is out. Like you're not doing anything to keep the moisture locked in. So with that, those are my tips for really surviving the cold weather with respect to your hair. No matter if you're doing protective styling or you are choosing to do a low manipulation hairstyle, just remember the moisturizer. You have to moisturize your hair before it goes into your protective styling. One of the reasons is, well, main reason is once it's in that protective style, you can't. It's very difficult to moisturize your hair Very, very, very difficult to moisturize your hair. So, in my opinion, it's my opinion, my experience, that hair needs to be moisturized prior to any type of braiding, anything like that. It just makes no sense to not do it before, because once it is in the braids, you can't moisturize it. You can moisturize the scalp. I mean, you could do a spray, but other than that, yeah. So, um, I'm going to say Zephyr 6. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Says, I've tried numerous products um, that have glycerin, and my hair hates glycerin. Yeah. I mean, it could be here. So here's what I would say. I would say, because you don't know what the percentage of glycerin is. And if you know that a product contains glycerin, is it the glycerin or is it the product as a whole? So I hear what you're saying about your product, your hair hating glycerin. I'd like some more details on what happens to your hair when you use the product, because it could be that that product is just not hydrating enough and there are other ingredients in there that are causing an issue and not the glycerin, but it also could be the glycerin. So, benefit of the doubt, it is the glycerin. But when you're looking at a formula, because you don't know the actual formula percentages of what's in there, the what you could say, unless you have an outright allergy to an ingredient that you can kind of pinpoint, is the product as a whole is not for your hair. But to pinpoint the glycerin, especially if it's low down on the ingredient list, I would say that I'm not sure if it's the glycerin. But again, you would want to test that by using different products with glycerin in them to see if you get the same result. So that's just my advice. All right. Would coconut oil and water work as a mist? I mean, it could, but I don't know. See, my thing with coconut oil is there's a very specific use with coconut oil. Coconut oil is a penetrating oil. So it just depends on what you're using the coconut oil for. Are you sealing in moisture, or are you allowing it to penetrate into the hair shaft? And then oils and waters don't mix together. So even if you did put it in a spray bottle and you mist it on your hair, they it's the oils would you would just have oil droplets on your hair, right? Because you need an emulsifier to bring those two phases together. So I don't think a coconut oil water mix would be good. I think it's good if you layer it on, but mix together, no. But you could layer, you could do water and then coconut oil. You'd want to put coconut oil on damp hair anyway because it's penetrating. Sorry, you want to put coconut oil on dry hair because it's penetrating. Sealing oils you put on damp hair because you're locking in moisture. So I don't know if that would work. It just depends on the reason that you're using the coconut oil and water mixture. So I would start there. What about braids for the winter season? Someone asked. Yeah, so you can have braids for the winter season. I am going to be covering proper protective styling on another live. I'm going to get into that in detail, because I have seen instances where people do protective styling and their hair just completely breaks in the protective style. There are reasons for that. So if you're going to do protective styling, you definitely want to do it right. And there are definitely reasons for breakage and issues of braids during the winter season. So your objective when you're doing any type of braiding is to make sure that any growth that happens during that protective style is maintained and your hair's not completely broken off or thinning due to traction alopecia because of incorrectly installed braids. So I'm definitely going to get into that, and how you uh, if you're going to somebody, or even if you're doing them yourself, you're doing braids yourself, can do them properly without the issues that can occur from improperly installed braids. I've seen the results of that. And I've seen clients literally, they've had braids in their hair, and the braids are actually falling out from the scalp. So we don't want that at all, at all, at all. So someone asked, you mentioned adding moisture before bed. Is that correct? Yes. I was saying that if you are going to if you're going to moisturize your hair at all, between, and again, it's comparative, moisturize in the morning, moisturize in the evening. I found that moisturizing in the evening before bedtime and locking in that moisture actually extends the moisture retention over the course of the day. That's just me. I've tested out in different scenarios and have had clients test it out as well. And have found that moisturizing at bedtime and doing your bedtime routine actually causes the hair to retain more moisture during the course of the day than doing it in the morning. So, yes, if you're going to moisturize, I'd say do it at bedtime and then put your satin bonnet on, and that will lock in that moisture. Where did I get my satin lined hat? Um, in Canada. So Cosi and Co, COSI and Co is a Canadian company. And also, I can't even remember the name of the other company. I'm sorry. If anyone wants to know where I got my hat, because it's not a beanie, it's like a slouch cap. Amazing. Love it. It's big. I will just email me info@earthtonesnaturals.com and I will send you the name of the company. I honestly years ago and I can't even remember. I can't remember it now. All right. When I use braids, my hair breaks. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So someone says when they do braids, their hair breaks. Looking forward to the live explaining how to do braid properly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, I'm coming from the perspective of the hair care for braids. I am by no means a professional braider. So with respect to braiding technique, etc., I'm not going to speak to that because that's not my area of specialty. My area is braid preparation. So how to prepare your hair for the braids and the types of braids that you want to choose based on your hair type and texture. Parts, for example, how big you want to part your hair. And this all comes down to understanding your curl pattern, strength, thickness, etc. Because if your hair's super fine and you do super fine braids, especially at the hairline, that's a recipe for traction alopecia. And it's based on the fact that your hair is weak. And so fine hair cannot withstand a lot of weight. Even braiding hair, like if you like, I mean, braiding hair would seem to be pretty light, but if you have fine hair, any type of weight added to your hair can cause the hair to fall out. Okay. And then the process of braiding. So I'm going to speak on the process of braiding too, the manipulation that happens, the combing that happens, the combing with a fine tooth comb. Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? That is breaking the hair. So that's what I can speak to. But the actual braiding technique is not my area of expertise. But the preparation of the hair before braiding, and then the type of braiding or the type of style you want to do, and I'm coming at it from a perspective of protecting the hair as much as possible and understanding the texture that you have and what types of styles would be best for you to minimize tension and friction on the scalp. So that's where I'm coming from there. All right. So I think I've answered all of these questions. And so now I'm going to go to any of my questions on Instagram here. Okay, so someone asked, does the benefit of coconut oil as a pre-wash extend the color treated hair since it's prone to dryness and damage? So with respect to color treated hair, Goldie, uh, I just want to know the context. So is it that the hair is color treated and is it blonde? And you're trying to minimize the damage of blonde hair? It's prone to dryness and damage. So anytime, and I'm going to do a live on color too, just like more color chemistry, not how to apply the product, because again, that's not my area of specialty, but the chemistry of color and what it does to the hair. So anytime you have color, especially if it's a lighter color, it doesn't matter what the packaging says, I think. I'll do it from that perspective. Anytime you're lifting color, you need peroxide. It's just the chemistry. It's the color chemistry. So you're having varying levels of peroxide for permanent color to lift and deposit. Your demi colors, which your demi and your temporaries, what they do is they deposit on top of the hair. So they do not go into the cuticle. Sorry, they don't go into the cortex of the hair where the melanin is, but your permanent color does. And the chemistry of that is using hydrogen peroxide. And that's part of the chemical reaction to bleach. You're doing a very varying levels of bleaching. The blonder you are, the more bleached you are, the more damage occurs, but there's damage that occurs anytime you're bleaching the hair. So that damage can be mitigated. Um, Part of what happens with the hair is an increase in the water loving tendency of the hair, which is a problem. because what and a loss of something called the 18 MEA layer of the hair, which is a protective layer. So it that layer of the hair actually makes the hair more water fearing or water hating. So that layer is important because once you strip away that layer, the hair absorbs a ton of water and cuticles lift and you get tangled, frizzy, messy hair. And then there is damage to the physical properties of the hair too. So coconut oil might benefit, but there are probably other ingredients that you would need to reduce the damage of bleached hair or color treated hair. What's the best way to protect the hair that's not long enough to braid? So if you're not braiding, I'm just trying to think of when my hair was shorter, what I would do. I would twist it. So being marvelous, uh, are you able to twist your hair? If you are, then that's a great way to protect your hair. Um, I would also, I think I wore my hair out in because I had a tapered cut with the top being longer. That's when I rocked my hair. So I rocked my hair out when my hair was shorter because the sides were tapered and short and I had the longer lengths. But what I did before I put gel on my hair is I did my hair butter. So my hair butter was always my foundation product in the wintertime. And then I would put my gel on top. So that's how I wore my hair in the winter when it was short. I rocked it. I loved it. But it was always there was always a bunch of product on it to seal in moisture and then my gel was on top. So the butter and then in our line, the Earth Tones line, I did hair butter, which is the leave-in moisturizer, and then I did perfectly twisted and then I did maybe a little bit of gel on top, and I did twists, like I did a twist out. So being marvelous, if your hair is like a teeny weeny afro, is it pretty short? Then you can still do your wash and go. So your wash and go in the winter would I would just layer on moisturizing products though. So your leave-in and then your gel, and I would not do a soaking wet hair application. I mean, when you have your moisturizing product in, I wouldn't do soaking wet anyway. It just dilutes the product. So all that moisture that you did, it just doesn't matter. So I would do my leave-in product, my moisturizing leave-in, let it dry in, then do my gel on top, and then I would do my wash and go. But when I do my wash and goes, I usually shingle the product in anyway. So I'm creating little smaller sections of hair and twirling them around my finger. It's not exactly a finger coil. Finger coil is another option. Finger coil is another option because you're compacting the hair. So if you have the patience to do that, or if you know someone who does that, then yes, a finger coils on shorter hair can also keep the hair tucked in during the winter time. So that is also an option. And then if you use gel, it will just last for a longer period of time. So, you can do that as well. But when my hair was short, yeah, I had no choice but to rock it in with gel because that's the only style I could use. But I did more so a low manipulation hairstyle because once I applied the gel on wash day, that was it. I didn't have to apply gel for the rest of the week. So it was good. What do you recommend for biracial girls who want to wear their hair loose, prevent frizz after washing and drying? Excellent question. And I'm probably going to do a live on that too. But in general, the frizz, um, if you're taming frizz, biracial hair, you're taming frizz, it still requires the same amount of care or the same type of products that just 100% afro hair would in that, or all hair. Let's just say all hair types and textures. But if we're talking the spectrum of curly hair from a 2 to a 4, we're doing the same shampoo, condition, moisturize style. Typically with biracial hair, if and less moisturized, or I would say more, not necessarily wavy curly, but maybe kinkier hair because kinky hair in general tends to require more moisturizing products. So something that is more so suited for wavy is typically going to be less moisturizing. I'm talking in generals here. I know that each brand has specific products for specific hair types and textures, but in general, if you're going for a product that is more suited to type 4, type 3 or 4, they're typically going to have more moisturizing ingredients because our hair tends to be drier. So if you're experiencing that, then you'd want to go for thicker, richer products, more hydrating, and then the frizz can be addressed with gel, some type of styling product. So, and that takes time to do the curls, but, and then that's an application process as well. But cleanse, condition, you moisturize, you do a really good leave-in product for dryness, and then your styling product on top, which is usually a gel or some type of cream gel, and that will help reduce the frizz for sure. So I'm just looking to see if there's any questions that I missed. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, I apologize for these technical issues. I'm trying to find different ways to do these lives because my kids tend to be on their devices tonight. And I think that's probably part of the issue why I'm getting so many technical glitches, but I'm going to figure it out. And thank you for your patience on Instagram. I've got kicked off like 5 times. So thank you for that. And I apologize if you were on before and you got kicked out. Trying different ways with respect to technology, and I'm just going to have to just straight up use my phone, which is right. I don't, yeah, right here. Have to hold it here. But anyway, thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing all of you on Let's next week's live. Someone asked, "Do you have a video on nighttime regimen?" No, I don't, but I can definitely go over your nighttime regimen. So at nighttime, in general, I don't do much at night. Um, because just my whole philosophy is wash day and then maintenance during the week. Oh, so my maintenance during the week, depending on how I wear my hair. So right now my hair is in these braids. So I just put a satin bonnet on my head. Um, Sometimes I will oil my scalp, and if I oil my scalp, I do try to do it at nighttime. I don't normally wear braids, but what I found is with wearing these braids, my scalp is so itchy, and it is the synthetic hair, and I can't stand it. So the product that I use for the my scalp is the Scalp Renewal Complex, the Earth Tones Scalp Renewal Complex. It is amazing. It's water based. It helps the itch right on contact. But I'll also use the oil if my scalp tends to be dry, and that is pretty much my regimen for nighttime in braids. Some people, what they'll do is if they leave their braids in for a long period of time, is they'll take their refreshing mist, or, you can do a glycerin water mix. I'm not sure if it has the same effect. The refreshing mist does, though. And they'll spray it on the base of the braid. And what it does is it prevents a lot of dirt and buildup from accumulating at the base of the braid. And again, if you're going to be on the protective hairstyle, the proper protective styling live, I'll go through all of this stuff as well. So it prevents a lot of the dirt and oil from collecting there. And so when you take out your braid, you don't have, especially if you have a braid that has a knot, you don't have that gunk and that buildup at the base of the braid. So that's just a tip if you wear your hair in braids. So my nighttime routine will be oiling my scalp. I'll put my satin bonnet on. That's it. If my hair is not in braids, it is usually in some type of twist. And all I'm doing is putting my satin bonnet on. I don't retwist at night. I don't do any of that stuff because the way I wear my hair is low manipulation. So I'm not up in my hair all the time. So my style is going to last me about 2 weeks or so. So that's my nighttime regimen. If you are having to retwist every night, I do recommend that if you're misting your hair with some type of liquid prior to applying your moisturizer, it would be an glycerin water mix if your hair can tolerate the glycerin. And what I like to start with is just kind of like a spray bottle. Put a little bit of glycerin, the rest is distilled water. Shake it up, spray it on your hair. Put your moisturizer on top. You retwist your hair. That'll give your hair some softness and draw moisture into the hair. And then if you're using a moisturizer on top, then it locks in the moisture. But just do that. I want, if you're a person that miss with water and re-moisturizes, I want you to try, instead of just water, do a glycerin and water mix and then put your moisturizer on top and just test the difference. Because that's really what it's about. Like I can give you a bunch of tips, which I found work for a lot of people, but you have to test them out for yourself to see if it works for you. Because it might or it might not, but you want to test. And sometimes it's the subtle differences, which is what I'm interested in. So for example, maybe your hair retains moisture for 7 days as opposed to 5. Those 2 days are gold. Like those are golden. Like, that's between a Saturday, a Friday, and a Sunday. I mean, you get 2 extra days out of not having to moisturize your hair. So for some people, that can make a huge, huge difference. And if it extends the time by a day or so, it's definitely, definitely worth it. What brand of glycerin? So the brand of glycerin, I don't know. I usually go to the pharmacy. So the glycerin I get is cosmetic grade glycerin because the products are made with it. But it's the same, I think, USP, so United States Pharmacopoeia glycerin. Um, it's vegetable glycerin. Any glycerin is fine. It's typically the same. It's composed of the same constituents. And you could do like a ratio of glycerin to water. So 1 part glycerin, 4 parts water. Shake it up. So whatever that calculation is, start there, and then you would titrate up. So you work your way up. So if you're like, yeah, this is good, but I feel like I need more, then you would go up to maybe half and half, right? So 50% water, 50% glycerin. I think that's probably a little bit much. So you could do 20% glycerin and the rest water, or 10% glycerin. So between 10 and 20 for the wintertime. Definitely in the summer, that's going to be too much. Glycerin tends to be really sticky whenever you get like over, 15, 16%. So I would do that in summer, but in the winter, yes. All right, just checking to see if there are any more questions I didn't answer. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great evening, and I will see you on next week's live. Thank you so much.